Nico, so end of an era here at Renault, 3 years, you were brought on board to begin this project, to lead the project. How do you feel about it? Because Cyril said you've been really, really impressive.
Good times together, obviously a lot of memories, in 3 years done, 60-something Grand Prix together with the team, worked with a lot of people. We tried hard. We made good improvements early on, some big gains, especially in 17, the first year. After that, a little bit more tricky. I think the progress, especially this year, 19, has been missing a little bit. It's been a kind of a tough year for us and a lot of headwind this season. But that's the challenge of Formula One, obviously. But all in all, I think I have been helpful for the team. I've always tried hard. I've certainly collected a couple of points. Tried, to push the team on and to do my bit well, and feel good about it.
You mentioned the tough year this year. It's the only one that you're probably not going to beat Daniel in the points. You obviously beat Carlos and Jolyon. How do you feel about your personal performance since you've been here?
Yeah, I think personally it's also been a challenging year. It's been a little bit, up and down. It was hard to get sort of a good momentum going this season. We had signs of really good results, but then the next one was kind of down again. Also quite a lot of, sometimes technical hiccups that were quite costly. So yeah, certainly personally I also don't feel 100% happy with everything that I've produced and done this year. Certainly a couple, mistakes on my side and not always quite found the performance that I wanted. But, that's why F1 is so tricky and challenging.
Is that because of that, and you've not kind of fulfilled maybe what you wanted to do this year? Does that mean you've got a bit of unfinished business now that you won't be around on the grid next year?
No, I think unfinished business is not the right thing to say, because I've done business here for 10 years, which is, a fair amount of time. So that's all good. But, I love Formula One. I'm not done with racing. This is not the end of my career. If there's a return or not in 21 or 22 or God knows when, that's obviously TBC, and nobody knows right now, right here in time. But for me, yeah, it doesn't feel like the end.
And you're not ruling out any sort of racing for next year, but what do you think 2020 holds for you at the moment?
2020 holds a lot more spare time for me, less traveling, that's for sure. And part of me is also excited about that. Closing this chapter of my life, and it's going to be obviously quite a different sort of schedule and rhythm next year. Not having to go through all the pre-season routine, winter testing, going to Australia. So it's going to be different, and part of me looks forward, to that different rhythm, different life, more freedom, do what you want when you want, kind of thing. And then, yeah, I think I just want to take, a good couple of months for myself to disconnect, to really take a step back, see where my interests take me. Where the fire is, and then see if there's possibilities somewhere out there.
Do you think a break can be helpful? Because you've just talked about spending a decade here in Formula One doing business, so it's been quite intense.
I think a break can be good. Obviously, I'm more advanced in my career. I had obviously 2010 1 year, then I had a year on the sidelines as test and reserve driver. Now it's a different situation for me. But whether that happens or not, I think that's obviously down to, first of all, how I feel about things, but also how teams feel about me and wanting to hire me or not. So, it's not entirely obviously in my power and my control, but it is exciting. Uncertainty about it. But I feel maybe this break doesn't come at the worst time.
And looking ahead to 2021, if you do choose to come back, obviously a brand new era for Formula One, does that excite you?
Yeah, it does. There's obviously a lot of things changing for them. The cars is one thing, and it's obviously the biggest thing, because for a driver, that's pretty important. But also the change of format in the weekend structure, and a couple of other things. So that sounds exciting, in itself. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
When you look back at your career then, 10 years, what do you think the highlights been? I guess the pole in Brazil must be a mega moment.
Obviously that was something. 2012, the race in Brazil was good too. 2013 with the Sauber in Korea, that was a very special race.
Hang in there, you're doing well.
This is 110%.
Well done, Nico. Hell of a race, Nico. Nico, that was a masterpiece. Thank you.
believe it or not, this year actually, the moment before the race in Hockenheim, standing in front of the grid, German anthem, you know, the massive grandstand, they were holding or showing the German flag. I mean, it wasn't racing, but it's still one of my favorite moments inside of Formula One because it just blew me away, you know, goosebumps all over. It was like a magic weekend, magic atmosphere, and I've never seen that many people in Hockenheim. And to see that and feel that German support there was, yeah, that was quite something. And I'm not a guy that is, you know, usually sentimental about things, but there it was like, wow, that really gave me a boost and very positive energy.
Are you the kind of person then who looks back at his career and do you look back and think, oh, I could have done that differently and I could have done this differently, or are you just happy with what, you know, the steps and path that you've ended up taking?
Yeah, I'm not the guy that, you know, looks and says, coulda, woulda, shoulda, because it's gone. It happened. It's the way it is. You gotta, you know, take your learnings from it, but at some point, you know, you have to close that situation and move on and try to do better and try hard each time you're out there. Of course, there's situations, if I would relive them, I would do slightly different, take maybe decisions also slightly differently now with everything that I know, but you know, that's the beauty with hindsight. You know, I'm not bitter, I'm fine within myself. Of course, I would have loved to have a couple of podiums or a couple of victories to my name. But yeah, on the other hand, I was never fortunate enough to be one or inside in one of them top cars. I think there were certainly moments and opportunities to get podiums, a couple, but unfortunately there was always some circumstance that prevented it.
That story has that unwanted record of no podium during your career. I remember afterwards you said something funny that it's the end of the Suttil era, the beginning of the Hulkenberg era, and you took it in quite good faith. When you look back now, does that frustrate you at all?
I mean, yes and no somehow, but more no, because I know why it didn't happen. Of course, I would like to change the fact there and not have that record to my name. But you know, at least I have one there, if I want or not. But I can live with it. You know, I sleep well with my eyes closed at night, so that's cool.
And how do you cope as a driver with those nearly moments, like Hockenheim this year and that race in Brazil where you had that massive lead? And how do you cope with those moments?
No, it's tough. You know, F1, it's really and racing. It's an emotional roller coaster. The highs, you know, are very high and you feel great, but the lows are also very low and very tough. This year Hockenheim was, yeah, it was really really hard to take, and you know, for weeks I was kind of really thinking about it, digesting it. It was really hard to accept for me how that race finished and then with that incident there. But yeah, again, one of those things, you know, at one point you have to wake up and be realistic. You know, it's gone and you have to move on, but you need to somehow come through and come at it time and time again.
And just to round up then, Nico, looking back at your career, how do you reflect on it overall in summary, and how excited are you about the future?
Excited about the future for sure. How I reflect on my career, well, I started, you know, to chase that dream of Formula One when I was 7 years old, when I started in go-karting. And if somebody, you know, told me back then, you'll make 10 years in Formula One, you know, in 20 years time or something, I would have said, you're crazy, but I would have taken it. So, you know, it's good. I'm in peace with myself. I'm okay with it. I think I've been pretty reliable and consistent in the midfield for a lot of midfield teams. And yeah, I don't need to hide.